5-point move. Joe Rau here in Paris, France with 71-kilogram world team member in Greco-Roman, Patrick Smith. Pat, how good does that sound?
Sounds pretty good. It's been a long time coming, and it's been a really fun ride. And I'm excited to be on that stage. I actually kind of had an interesting conversation with my high school coach, Ned Shuck, like 5 minutes ago. We got a little extra food, and can't believe it's already here a little bit. But about 95% of me is thinking it's just another tournament. You know, it's the same guys I've been seeing the last few years. Just happens to be on a pretty awesome stage. So excited to go over there, get in my routine, and let it fly.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know someone, I know you personally, obviously. You're my teammate in Minnesota, and I don't know many people that are more deserving of it. And, from everybody, not just in Minnesota and, the U.S., I feel like everybody's happy to see you on the team. Is it a little bit, hey, I'm on the team, and it's like, hey, this is who I've always been, and I'm ready to rock? Obviously, you've had some hard people, hard competitors in your way every year when you just fell short, but it's a little bit, hey, I'm over the surreal bit of it, or is it still just there and you just got to live with it?
So there's multiple levels, I feel like, to that question, like talking about deserving it, and, everybody knows that I work hard and that I have high expectations of myself, and I've been hearing that deserve thing for a long time, but I'm a firm believer that, you only deserve what you earn and what you make, and so it is like validating that way to accomplish that goal, but then we just look forward to the next one, because like you said, I have felt that I've had it in me for a long time, and so it's good to make that first step towards accomplishing my goals, which is to be the best in the world. I don't understand why people get into stuff to be halfway at it. You're gonna do it to be the best in the world, and so that's what I've been training for, because I think that that's what's gonna get the best out of me in the long run. I'm excited to see where I'm at, maximize my performance to the highest ability.
Absolutely. You mentioned some of your high school coaches, Ned Shuck, Mike Hauk. With the addition of all the great coaches we have on the senior level that you've been having, since you were a kid, I've been having since I've been on senior level with Chandler and Paulson. Talk about, I do want to narrow it down to Hauk and Ned, and because that relationship's real special. If you could sum it up, and it's hard to really sum that relationship up. But if you could, in the best of your ability, Mike Hauk is our first Greco World Champion in the U.S., and he's in Minnesota, and Pat had the privilege to get him early and had a real big impact on Pat's life, and it's a special relationship.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You look back and how many different people have been able to shape, and how lucky you are to be put in front of people. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I'm grateful for, and the biggest things I'm grateful for in this sport is how many amazing people it's put in front of me. And I've always been the guy that's tried to soak it all in, and I listen to stuff that they said, and sometimes it sounded crazy, and but even when I was in high school, I remember Mike telling me that you can take this as far as you want to go. I see it in you, and that was big hearing coming from him, because he wasn't only just the first world champ, but also a guy that's been there. But he was a second national team coach in Greco, and built up the OTC program, and did all that stuff. And I think that's something a lot of people don't know. So to hear that from him was pretty big. So it's always kind of been in the back of my head, and along the line, those steps have kind of shown themselves at interesting times along the way. So if it wasn't for those guys, those two specifically at that time in my life, who knows? They really opened my eyes to a higher level, and I think that's huge for young kids is exposure to the best, because until you see it, you don't really know what it is. And I think that's the biggest thing about being a training partner and having all those opportunities is you saw it. You know where it's at, and you should always be searching for ways to get better and find the best possible. So I don't know if I totally answered that, but it was along those lines, and I think that now I'm super grateful for everything that they've poured into me. And I'm just glad that they're both out here. And a lot of people are back home supporting me and stuff, and it's really cool to be able to share the experience with those people. They've been along the way, so it's not just me. It's everybody that's been there along the way. So that's cool.
Absolutely, you're talking about him kind of being pivotal in the Greco-Olympic movement for the U.S. Like, didn't he start the resident program at the OTC? So there's guys like Tracy and Robbie and all those people that. They never would have been living at the OTC if it wasn't for some of the initiatives that Mike Hauk started, and
he was definitely a big player in that. Back when USA Wrestling was taking those initiatives, and he was there and recruited guys like Rulon and Matt and
Hall
and all those guys to go out there and live and was a part of their training and stuff. And I don't know, he was just, it wasn't like their main guy, like probably, but at the same time was part of that success and stuff. So it's pretty cool part of like Greco history and everything. So
absolutely. So me and Tracer over here talking about he's only tough because he's had all these Chicago influences. I, on the other hand, moved to Minnesota. Talk about Minnesota tough, Minnesota gut. Like, you talk about all these guys, all these people. We have all these greats in our backyard. Like. It's another loaded question or hard question to answer, but what is it about Minnesota?
Yeah, it's a special kind of thing. Alan Rice built back in the '60s, and Dan Chandler was a huge part of that, and building that group up. And back in the '70s when they had like 7 out of 10 guys on the Olympic team is just insane. And these are the stories that we all hear growing up. And we have a consistent idea, and there's always somebody along the line that's making a team. I remember when I was in high school, it was Jake Clark, and then it was Deichler, and then so there's always like I said, exposure is huge, and you have to find the right people to look to. But it proved that it could be done from our place, and I think that was like really big for me. I always looked up to those guys, and you get that little feeling inside of you that's like, man, I want to be that guy. Like, I want, it'd be really cool to do that, and just kind of kept hanging on to that feeling for a long time. So it's cool, and there's a lot of stuff, and like I said, you gotta soak it in, like, because those guys are crazy, and you gotta be a little bit crazy to make stuff happen.
Yeah, there's something powerful to having Olympians so accessible and tangible to you at such a young age, because I didn't know any Olympians until I started doing this, and we've had an Olympian from Minnesota Storm every Olympics since 1960? 1968. Yeah. We had an Olympian on every team since then.
Yeah.
Crazy streak. All right, Pat, just a little bit off the topic question. So I've asked you about this before. You're a guy who likes to multitask, and it's impressive. You just bought a house. You're working a job remotely. You made the world team. You play guitar. You got a job. You got all these things going on. You never seem overwhelmed. Talk about that and how a loaded schedule, which I've come to find because I've started to load my schedule, could kind of help you in a time management way, because you have to time manage, and it could be an empowering thing. It doesn't have to take away from your wrestling, and it's something I've always admired about you, and I want to ask you again, even though I already have.
It wasn't like I sought out to do that, but kind of after college I decided, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna take some stuff on if I want to do it, and I'm gonna start doing it and just dive in, and if I things get crazy, we'll go back to it later. But I've always had the priorities. Wrestling's always been number one priority. When I was going to school, it was wrestling school and then work. And I always can go back to that, and it's kind of comforting to know when you take a lot on, you can remember where the number one is. So it helps you make decisions. But yeah, I remember it was encouraging hearing a guy like Andy Bezic, who was working a job and making his first world team, and then winning his first medal and breaking
kids
through.
And wife
kids,
and
it's like that's a whole nother ball game as kids. I mean, I'm just a single guy.
Yeah.
Like kids and wife, you have people to answer to.
Yeah.
So, but he talked about how it made him better because it's and they talk about this all the time is with deliberate practice or whatever. You're really forced to know when you're going in what you need to do and shut your brain off at the right times, turn it on at the other right times, and so it's just practice, just trying to figure it out, But I bought a house, so I have cool roommates. Zach
Yeah.
Sanders and Donnie Longendijk.
Yeah, Pat Smith is no longer just a friend and teammate. He is now my landlord. It's pretty cool. It is like, Elvis is my landlord. No, but yeah, Pat, it's always kind of blown me away. But I've talked to Andy and even Ben today about that. Having kids and wrestling, it could. When you're in a wrestling practice, you're goofing off, not wrestling hard. It's like I could be spending time with my kids or making money for my kids, and I need to wrestle well so I can get.
Take that to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
You got like Wechter in your room.
Yeah. Orthopedic surgeon.
Orthopedic surgeon has 3 kids and a wife, but he's still waking up.
Working out twice a day.
And then going to practice, and then going back to work, and then going to practice. And then going home to his kids.
And there's all these other interests.
You don't really have an excuse.
Oh yeah, I've been painting for 20 years. You paint? It's just the guy never was stressed.
Yeah.
There's something amazing about people who are able to do that. Pat, hate to beat this like a dead horse too, because I've already asked all these things. I've interviewed you before, a lot of similar questions. I'm sure it won't be the last time I interview Pat Smith.
The 2 a.m. talks sounds just like that at the house. So.
Exactly. We have these talks all the time and wish we could just had a TV show. But Pat Smith, you like to play guitar. A lot of people around Minnesota, a lot of your ex-teammates from Minnesota, the Gophers. You're their favorite musician. You're one of my favorite musicians, and you're playing in Schiller's wedding and a lot of other people's weddings. You played shows. It's kind of a cool thing, but to you, is it more of just a hobby and it's going to stay that way, or is it something that could potentially become more later on in life?
Yeah. I don't know. Definitely a hobby right now, though. Apparently the cat's getting out of the bag a lot more than it had. It kind of kept in the wraps because it's just like a leisurely thing,
Sorry about that.
Me and Tony Nelson, I'll throw him under the bus on this, but he likes telling people. Apparently Coleman Scott and John Smith know now. So,
well, that's cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, he likes to write songs and I'll put little chords to them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that's just fun. It's just something I can turn my brain off and mess around.
Absolutely. I talked to your guy Hauk about it a lot. The creative mind, the right brain and the left brain working together, and wrestling. There's a cool talk me and Hauk had that every time you hit a wrestling move, it's never the same. Every single time, it's slightly different, a little bit different force, and one body part or a different guy, different reaction, different. You can't help it, but each one is like a work of art. And the creative brain working as a wrestler is something powerful to it, or at least having a creative outlet. So, who would you say is your favorite musician, or Garth Brooks? And Jim Croce is a big one. He's
Taylor.
Chris Stapleton. He's got me into all these guys, man. It's great. Anyways, yeah, sorry, I contribute the cats out of the bag because I tell everybody. Because I like hearing you too. Every morning's like a concert with this guy. But when people find out I did comedy, I'm like, oh man, why'd I ever tell anybody? It's like, oh, tell a joke. I'm like, I don't have any. But anyways, sorry to drag on. I just like talking to you guys. But all right, Pat.
Felt like we were getting on the Joe Rau. Right?
Yeah, it's all right. We're just having another conversation like in Minnesota. But thanks for taking time out in your busy schedule to talk to us at 5 Point Move. Joe Rau, your buddy. But good luck tomorrow. I know you're going to do well and do America and Minnesota proud. All right, sayonara.